During the credit crisis, I thought Disney was in big trouble, and then they went into streaming like it was the most revolutionary thing that they created ever. What they did is they were forced to go into streaming because they were more impacted than anyone during COVID because it's a 100% consumer business. They don't have recurring revenue, and every single part of their business was shut down. And it wasn't coming back soon. It wasn't like, okay, well, airlines open up or this open up. No, it was the parks, it was the theaters, it was Broadway. I mean, you name it across the board, they were impacted. They had to do something, and they went to streaming and said, okay, we'll get a multiple like Netflix at 40 times earnings, where Netflix is now 15 times forward earnings, and Disney's trading at 24 times forward earnings. So Disney's a very expensive stock. In order for Disney to work here, they have to get the hell out of streaming. They can decide now to do that and say, okay, we're going to reverse course or whatever, and take a charge or whatever you need to do. I know it's Disney Plus. I know they're not going to do that because, a lot of executives are stubborn and believe this is the way. This was something they were forced into. This wasn't a revolutionary thing that changed the landscape of the company. Like they said, the numbers were never there. I knew the numbers would never get there because streaming I covered for a long time, and it's the worst business model I've ever seen in my life. $30 billion for new content, and you're charging people like $7 a month. It just doesn't make sense. It made sense for Netflix. They went through a massive, they were able to get that huge premium, kind of like Tesla. Tesla, just people loved that stock when it was a shitty name. Yeah, they were producing cars, but now the balance sheet is much stronger. They're seeing strong growth, record earnings and everything. But you know what? They got a pass from a lot of shareholders saying, hey, this is what we think the future is going to be. And that's fine. When I look at Disney, what the future is going to be, $30 billion a drag. They don't have that money. They're sitting on $40 billion in net debt, their largest net debt position ever. They went all into streaming like it's, this is the greatest thing ever, and it's not. They can't really compete with the Time Warners and the Netflixes. You just not to spend that kind of money. It's just that's why you're not going to see earnings come back, and all the analysts are leaning so far on the wrong side of this. And the funny thing is, Disney didn't really get punished. They got punished when this market came down, and now they're finally missing, and people are starting to realize it. But they didn't really get punished for their terrible numbers for 2 quarters before that because they added more names, which were basically for free. Nobody cares about the actual numbers, right? Back then, now people are caring about earnings and the numbers. But all the analysts, when they had the reset, not this quarter, last quarter, they were like, oh, well, they're going to get back to pre-COVID levels. We thought it'd be 2022, 2023. Now we're pushing out to 2024, 2025. Like the full year of all your financials were complete horse shit, right? Imagine if we did that as a company and said, these are the goals of 2023. Then we're going to hit all these goals. And now next quarter we come out and say everything is shit. And all of our analysts decide to say, no, that's okay. They're just going to hit it in 2024 instead, which is hilarious. But, getting back to this question real quick is they don't have the balance sheet to spend $30 billion constantly every single year. And that's what they're going to need to spend to compete with Netflix and Time Warner. They need to focus on parks, movies, theaters, and start licensing their content to the hundreds, if not over thousands of streaming providers. You only hear about the big ones, but man, there's tons of them out there. License all your content to these people who are in dire need of content to keep their platform afloat. Now this is a super high margin business. You get checks in the mail, collecting them like crazy, instead of spending tens of billions of dollars you don't have with actors and actresses. You got in trouble with Black Widow. Man, I forgot her name, and I love her too. But, the fight with that where you release something on streaming, which she didn't expect, it wasn't a contract, and you attacked her for being like, again, with your liberal shit, which, come on. She's one of the most popular actresses in the world. And Scarlett Johansson. Give me a break. So that's what you're dealing with a lot of these companies. So they need to focus on the parks. The parks are kicking ass, and you need to get the hell out of politics. Please get out of politics. You've done it with your ESPN brand, and it's crush your ESPN brand. You're doing it right now with the Don't Say Gay bill. Again, this is about stocks, not about politics, but for Disney, this, and Florida in general, the Don't Say Gay bill, which is the funniest thing in the world that it's coined the Don't Say Gay bill because it doesn't have the word gay in it at all. That's a more important topic right now than Roe versus Wade in Florida. Not taking anything away from Roe versus Wade abortions. I'm just saying that is a hot topic in Florida because you're dealing with people's children. Right? This is Disney. Disney's core market is families, the family experience. And you're telling these parents that their 6, 7, 8-year-old children need to be educated about transgender in school from teachers they don't know personally. That's what Disney's fighting for. That's what they're standing up at the rooftops. That's what they're calling a Don't Say Gay bill. We want our teachers, not the parents, because you're too stupid. We want them to know about transgender and teach them about their genitals. And we're going to, in school, when you're supposed to teach them the multiplication tables, right? That's what they're fighting for. That's their core market right there. Get the hell out of politics because it just cost you. I mean, it was really damaging with the cost structure, the special tax structure you had for over 40 years. That's what happens. Get out of politics, guys. People go to Disney for entertainment. People watch sports for entertainment. Don't make it about politics. We talk about politics a lot of times because we have to. It's reflected. ESG, the stupidest thing in the world. If you do it right, that's fine. If you're doing it right, even when it comes to the oil part and the energy part of that, that's fine. But at a time like this, where we can produce as much oil as we possibly can, we're hurting hundreds of millions of Americans right now with higher energy costs when we have tons of oil that we could be drilling and become the most powerful nation by far, where China's not catching up. And China is catching up because they're producing coal and doing everything they can and stockpiling to make themselves stronger, and we need them. Paying our politicians who are all on a take from China. That's why we can never say anything bad about China. Russia's the enemy, but China, no, they're cool. They started COVID and murdered millions of people all over the place and denied it. Didn't let the WHO in there. We know it, right? They lie about COVID. They lie about everything, but they're not the enemy. Why? Because look at the amount of money that filters into politicians from China. It's not a hard trail to see. And I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about Republicans as well. Both of them. But it's amazing how you can't say anything bad about China. That COVID originated there. You got kicked off of social media. Why do you think that? Politics with these companies, they have to realize. They got to get out of politics, especially Disney. It's not their core market. That's a big risk. With that said, if they get out of streaming, that's a buy. If they get into streaming, this company is not going to see earnings get back to pre-COVID levels for another 3-4 years. And that's the only company. I think Boeing will beat them to it. Out of every company in the Dow, probably 95% of companies in S&P 500 where their earnings have returned past pre-COVID levels, or pretty close to that. Disney's not even close. So those earnings aren't even going to be close as long as they're in streaming. It's a money-losing business. They have Hulu, which has been around forever, and that loses $1.5 billion a year. That shows you the model doesn't really work. Unless you could do something else with those names, and I know Disney's the greatest marketing company on the planet. You might be able to do a lot of different things with those names, and that's fine. Market them and put them through whatever it is. But I got to tell you, even when I went to New York with my friends and I spoke to them, they're like, Florida, Orlando, when you're coming down, and they started talking about this. This is a hot topic for them. And you're like, what's going on there? And I have my own opinion about it. They're like, we're not going to Disney. We're going to Universal now. We've already booked Universal. We're not going to Disney ever again. That's what they said. Because when you really look under the hood here, whatever you support. But their core market is families. And none of the families want this. None of the families want teachers to educate them about anything other than school. We'll develop our kids. They'll learn from us. They're our kids. You want to teach them something that we don't believe that's necessary for them to teach, regardless. And has nothing to do with being prejudiced, has nothing to do with not liking something or liking something. It's why. Why is this need? Why is this such a need and such a big fight to program 6, 7, 8-year-olds, innocent children who should not be learning about politics or anything craziness or anything like that? And if they are going to learn about that, let it come from their parents, not teachers that we don't know. That makes a lot of sense. You may think differently. I don't. I'm very strongly on this. I do not want my kids 6, 7, 8. Again, my kids are older now. I still want to keep them as far away as possible from all the bullshit that's out there, which is a lot. And it's not easy these days, especially through social media and crazy stuff like that. Anyway, that's my take on Disney. Hopefully they get out of streaming. If not, if the market goes up, Disney will probably go up. You're going to see the parks continue to do well because they have pricing power. But their parks have been limited. So I want to see what they're going to do. They're going to have further raise prices since I don't know if they're increasing the park capacity, which they're not, but they said, hey, we're limiting this way. Experience is better for everyone. So, when you limit something and you limit the amount of people coming into the parks, that means you're going to have to raise prices. And we're seeing right now that, pricing power, that's cool, but not everyone's going to continue to have, and you can't raise prices to just wherever the hell you want forever. Eventually people kind of cut back. We're not even close to seeing that with Disney. That's their bread and butter. They need to get out of streaming. I know too much has gone through streaming and Disney Plus and all this stuff, but I would love to see that because it's going to be a major drag on earnings as long as they're in that business, and they don't need to be in that business. And if you want the multiple of Netflix, your stock needs to decline by another 25%. So, that was the goal. We want a multiple like Netflix. Well, Netflix's multiple is 16, 17 times forward earnings, I believe, right now, and you're trading at 24 times forward earnings. So what do you want to buy? I don't know. For me, I think Netflix is a much, much stronger buy, and I think people just get Ozark, Stranger Things, and the content that they have. People are going to flock there than Disney, which is not producing tons of new content. They have old content, and that's not what streaming is about. They want new content. That's why people stream. They don't stream old movies and get that on TNT and USA and stuff like that.